Episode number 70 of Making the Case. Why most men are not leaders. Let's get it. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? We back at you again with another episode 70 to be exact, of Making the Case. I am your host, none other than Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, consultant, a little bit of everything, father. All right. Um, so I have to apologize. Really, I shouldn't apologize because your boy need a vacation too every once in a while. I just got back off of vacation. I had an amazing time. Actually, I was celebrating my birthday, so um, I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm pretty sure with some digging you could probably find out my age. So, but you too busy to do all that. No need to worry about how old I am. But in case you're wondering, I had an amazing time, and now we back at work. Had a little catching up to do, but that's why we had to push this episode back a day, because we just couldn't fit it in. But hey, we're here. So before we get into our opening statement, we got to go over our two channel norms, of course. One, we attack points and not people. And then two, we don't do all the cussing and unnecessary stuff. We let the kids and other people do that stuff, that enjoy that. But so let's get into my opening statement. So why do I say that most men aren't leaders? All right. Well, you're gonna see from this episode as I start to break down what a lot of people will agree, which would be leadership qualities. You will notice that a lot of men do not have them. And I'll tell you why a lot of men do not have them. A lot of men do not have them because they were not, particularly in the African American community, a lot of men weren't born with a male in their home. And even in situations where people do have a male in their home, I mean, they may not have those leadership qualities because just because you're in a home doesn't mean that you're a leader. All right. Should I say that again? I think I should. Just because you're in the home and you're a man does not make you the leader. What you are seeing a lot of time is you are seeing women who have to step up and do what they have to do, whether that's not having a man in the home or whether that the man is just not being the leader that she would like him to be. And the reason why we always put that pressure or that emphasis on men is because I think most of us would agree, whether that's socially, spiritually, or what have you, that yes, leadership falls on men, right? Um, who is more likely to lay their life on the line? Men. Who are more likely to be physically stronger, faster? Men, right? So with great power comes great responsibility. So, and I don't think a lot of men would actually complain, to be honest with you. But just like anything, what we have to understand is that it takes training, it takes modeling, it takes rearage, it takes um, someone showing you the ropes and showing you how it should be done. And unfortunately, a lot of us did not have that growing up, still do not have that. So we're even learning on the fly, or we have become very complacent in the role that we pretty much have been in for most of our lives, right? A lot of people used to being class clowns. A lot of people used to being mess ups. A lot of people used to being drug addicts, right? So you take on this role, okay? Nothing is really expected of you but to be in this role, right? And unfortunately, a lot of us like have fell into that, right? So leadership is not something that's spoken of a lot, particularly in households, right? I'm not saying that you have to take courses and classes in order to become an effective leader. That's not what I'm saying. Even though education helps, I would say education has helped me become the leader that I am, whether that's personally or professionally, right? But you don't need a um quote unquote traditional education. You just need to be educated, right? And it would be best if that training came on the job, right? Meaning that somebody is there every step of the way, kind of showing you the ropes. So that's kind of a brief overview of what we really gonna touch on in this episode. But what we're about to do right now is get into our three pieces of evidence. And I really want to show you and explain to you why most men aren't leaders. And it's not that men can't start becoming better leaders, right? It's just that we have to continue to have the conversation. We got to put things in perspective when it comes to leadership qualities, and what a good leader looks like. So that's actually what we're gonna do in today's episode. So buckle your seatbelts. Hey, it's gonna be a long, bumpy ride. All right. So let's get into our first piece of evidence, shall we? All right, so let's get into our first piece of evidence of why I believe most men aren't leaders. And we're gonna break it down with actually from a platform called Leaders, right? Aptly titled, huh? And so let's get into this. Called What Does It Mean to Be a Leader? All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. What does it mean to be a leader? Does it mean being an authority figure over other, or is it there more to it? A quick look at the business world illuminates people who practice true leadership. Take Meg Whitman as an example. A CEO of eBay, Whitman helped take the company from 5 million in revenue to over 8 billion. She would later go on to turn around Hewlett Packard at a time when the company was struggling to survive. But financial success doesn't always indicate a leader. I should repeat that. Financial success doesn't always indicate a leader. All right. Just because you had money, we shouldn't equate it with you being a leader. That's not how it works. It was Whitman's leadership style that set her apart from her peers. According to people who work with her, Whitman challenged us to be better, stimulate them with questions that encourage them to break through boundaries. She advocated for more open communication in the workplace, tearing down barriers that prevented employees from speaking with executives. Women use her influence to help others, and the business benefit as a result. Communication is huge. Mutual respect is huge. Key aspects, attributes of a leader. We're going to get into some more attributes as well. Let's keep reading. Women is a good example of leadership, either making or breaking a company. Poor leadership can often lead to problems. According to a survey from Zinger Folkman, uninspired leaders result in almost half of direct reports thinking of quitting, while only 23% of employees consider themselves engaged. Other reports indicate that up to 75% of employees say the worst part of their job is their boss. Wow. I mean, that stat makes sense, right? I mean, a lot of people are unhappy because of the people they work for. If a company wants to see increase in productivity, employee satisfaction, innovation, and job retention, they need to recognize and value true leadership, right? Now, that leadership can come from the CEO and the company as they're describing. That CEO can come from someone that's a little bit lower, like a manager, supervisor. But that leadership can also come from a coworker, right? Because there's always like levels to leadership. Someone doesn't have to necessarily have the title in order to be a leader. And we're going to get into more personal aspects, of course. But right now, we're just talking about our working climate, with a lot of times we kind of conflate that with leadership when it comes to work. So let's see. So, what is a leader? John Maxwell has a famous quote about the definition of leadership that says a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. From this quote, it's easy to see that a great leader is someone who has gone down a particular path They know the correct way to go, and they're willing to act as a guide for others to follow. That leader might not be the most eloquent or outgoing, but they are willing to risk it all to show people there's a better way. And that's when we talk about leadership in the home, right? A leader is one that's willing to take the bullet, but also willing to do what he need to do, show the way, right? Be competent because you have to build up that trust, right? In order to be considered a leader, in order that someone wants to follow you, you have to build that trust. You got to be an effective communicator, right? You have to be adaptable. These are all traits that a lot of men have not learned, right? Even if you're going through a traditional schooling, they're not specifically teaching these traits, right? So a lot of this stuff is learned either on the fly through making mistakes, or you had a great leader yourself in your life that showed you the ropes. But those two, even combined, is a small percentage. If you ask me to give you a stat right now, I would say 20 to 25% of men are leaders. The other 75, 80 are not. Scary, I know. But fortunately or unfortunately, when you look at the women's side of being a follower, I would say about the same. Most women do not know how to follow. All right. Let's not get off what you call it. Let's keep reading. Oh, great leaders are influential figures who teach essential leadership skills to those around them. Through their work, they create an infinite cycle of leadership, positively impacting others. Oh, let's see. A leader can appear at any level of a company, especially if that company works to cultivate leadership among its team members. That's kind of what I was just saying. Leaders are those who want to make something of themselves. They seek to grow every day and improve their skills for the duration of their lives. For them, self-development is an ongoing process. Absolutely. I always say all the time, I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. Always will do it. Right? Because learning has always been in my life before I made a penny. And it always will be after I make a lot of pennies. Right? So, I mean, it just is what it is. It helps your leadership. It helps you to be more communicative. It helps you be a better listener, right? It helps you to compromise, constantly in search of development. All right. Oh, let's see where we at. Leader of those who want to make them. Oh, I already read that. What are the three most important roles of a leader? One, being a guide. A leader who acts as a guide is a person who shows you how to get things done. They provide a roadmap that you need to follow. Guides understand the destination, so they'll show you the steps you need to get there. It's best to think of a guy as a mentor figure. That's what I was saying. Like, we need guys in order to help us be leaders in general, but definitely better leaders. We need mentors. We need guys. It's so crucial. That's why a lot of us are not that, because we don't have that in our life. I know I didn't have that. So, two, chief. A chief is like the head of a household or a parent. While it may be tempting for some leaders to simply dictate what others need to do, a leader acting as a chief gives the explanation for doing it. They focus on the why behind the action. Hey, let's do this so we can get this, that, and the third done. Right? Because as leaders, we got to get out of the parenting model is that you do as I say. You don't ask questions. I'm the boss. I'm the one in charge. You just do what I tell you to do. We have to get out that mind frame, right? If we're leading people, we want people to know the direction that we're going so they can feel comfortable, right? Now, you may have situations where they're going to be uncomfortable and they still going to follow you. But that needs to be in a situation where you done already gained their trust, right? You don't want to constantly be going down that road that they're not feeling comfortable, but they following you because eventually they're gonna stop following. All right. Um, just like a parent, the chief is responsible for being nurturing and loving, but also giving structure to people's lives. And that structure is key. They teach good habits and systems for them to follow. Absolutely. All this on point. I'll tell you that. Role three, tree. When a leader acts as a tree, they set down strong roots that won't allow them to move from their spot. These roots represent the leader's core identity, purpose, value, beliefs, and character. They're the unshakable foundation upon which everything else is built. Like a tree needs healthy roots to thrive, a leader must show integrity for everyone else to work. By nurturing a relationship with friends, family, and mentors, a tree like leader grows in wisdom and awareness. Along the way, they develop the knowledge, skills, and discipline that will turn them into a great leader. These eventually blossom into the passion and strength that many on the outside notice. They also develop leaves or the charismatic natures that many leaders demonstrate. So oh my gosh. I love these analogies and I love the way they are framing this, right? Because these are like three pillars to great leadership, right? Be the tree, be the tree chief, be the guide. Like it is so important. We're gonna read a little bit more. Five top qualities of great leaders. They serve others. So you heard of being a servant leader, right? So they're in the positions to make sure everybody around them is good, right? Servant leadership is all about making the goals clear and then rolling up your sleeve and do whatever it takes to help people win. In that situation, they don't work for you, you work for them, right? You've seen a situation where you'll see the CEO get in the kitchen and roll up his sleeves and be working right alongside their workers, right? Servant leader. Two, problem solve. Every problem has a solution, although it may not be the outcome that was originally hoped for or expected. And that's where adaptability comes from, right? As a leader, you have to be able to problem solve. Where does this also come in handy? When it comes to our household, right? A man must always have a plan. And a man must always be able to, when presented with a problem or issue, always have a plan to get it solved, right? You go with the best outcome that you can. Let's see. Three, accountability. Oh my gosh. And this is the reason why a lot of people lack leadership skills and a lot of people can't lead. If you don't want nobody holding you accountable, if you can't hold yourself accountable, how you gonna lead others? And a lot of men and women struggle with accountability, right? Four, passionate. People should pursue what they're passionate about that will make them happier than pretty much anything else. And one thing I totally agree, and it's funny that Elon Musk said this, right? Oh, I totally agree. In order to truly, truly be successful at something, you should be passionate about what you do because it helps with the roller coaster, particularly if you're in this entrepreneur space, like myself and a lot of other content creators, right? There's going to be roller coasters, right? Sometimes things are going to go well and sometimes they're not. So it's going, but when you passionate at what you do, you can withstand that because you already know you're doing what you love, right? I love giving y'all this information, man. So, I'm gonna be good with whatever direction the wind blows because I love doing what I do. All right. And then we're gonna go to five purpose driven, which I guess kind of be centered to passion, but um you got to be driven, you got to be on your purpose. We hear that all the time in these male spaces, particularly on YouTube, right? That men should be in a purpose, shouldn't be focused on females, which I absolutely agree. But you want to be purpose driven so that you could be a leader amongst men, amongst boys, amongst women, amongst whoever you need to be. So I think these are some very important, and we're going to stop right there. Those are very important traits and qualities and tenets to really, live by. And I mean, I couldn't have said it no better. Like, but The biggest key is, man, get up under somebody, get up under the guidance of somebody. That could be somebody you know or somebody you don't know, somebody you just really respect. And let them help show you the way. I was fortunate, although I didn't necessarily have, that guide and that leader that I could really look up to. I did have outside influences, and it did have a certain, drive and focus to myself. Education really helped me out. So, I was fortunate, right? And I was fortunate to be around other men who, had themselves together to, indirectly learn from them. So, but yeah, just because most men aren't leaders or most people in general aren't leaders don't mean that you can't become one. Because most people are not natural born leaders. I wasn't a natural born leader. I had to learn the path. So, um, let's get into our piece of evidence number two: why most men aren't leaders. Let's get it. All right, so we're moving on to our second piece of evidence. We're still talking about why most men aren't leaders. I have an article from the Harvard Business Review, um, and this is titled Eight Essential Qualities of Successful Leaders. So now we're getting more so into the qualities, even though the last piece of evidence also talked about qualities, but um, it gave more so of a general overview of what to look for in a leader. This is going to be more specific, so let's get into it. But I don't need to skip the whole thing. Sorry. Do you have what it takes to be a great leader? I hope you do. It helps if you excel at communicating, and of course, you need to be adept at planning, problem solving, and delegating. You also need to be capable of navigating any and all changes that arise. Are you scared yet? Beyond these skills, though, the quality that set great leaders apart are more elusive and can at times appear otherworldly. Exceptional leaders possess a certain X factor that makes it seem as though they inherently know what to do. I would agree. Like, some leaders handle it so well where anything can arise and it's almost like they immediately have an answer for it, right? They're so great at handling problems and just handling things that come off the cuff that, they're kind of like experts at it, right? But according to Harvard Business School professor Linda Hill, one of the world's top experts on leadership, star leaders aren't born with superhuman capabilities. Rather, they tend to have intentionality or intentionally put themselves in situations where they have to learn, adapt, and grow, and crucial for developing the tenacity and fortitude to motivate and guide others. Leadership is a process of self development. She says no one can teach you how to lead. You need to be willing and able to learn how to lead. Mostly we learn from our experience in facing adversity. Stepping outside of the spaces where we feel safe is a powerful teacher. Absolutely. But unfortunately, a lot of people like to live in their comfort zone, right? So as a leader, you have to be comfortably uncomfortable all the time. So it's just kind of what it is. Here are what Hill says are the top 8 most important qualities for successful leadership, along with ideas on how to cultivate them. Authenticity. Being genuine and true to who you are is fundamental to success in any role. Hill said that as a leader, you must embody your best self, the version that's not only highly effective, but also capable of motivating and inspiring those around you. And I think authenticity in general, sorry, I'm being choked. I think authenticity in general is just a great human skill to have, right? Not just being the leader. It's just that, like, when people feel like you come off as fake, um, then it's a hard sell to really win them back. When it comes to trust and when it comes to somebody want to follow you, if they feel like you're not comfortable in your own skin, then they're not going to want to follow you, right? Let's see what they say is the second one. Curiosity. That's interesting. He'll say that curiosity is a mindset. It's about looking around the corner, exploring uncharted territories, and trying to understand the art of the possible. Great leaders have an outside in perspective of their organization and team, she had. This means they have an ability to look at situation and issues from the standpoint of external stakeholders, such as customers and competitors. This helped them make more informed decisions because they consider the broader context. And okay, I was wondering where they was going with curiosity at first, but now I get it. Like, so I also like to say, um, it's playing chess, not checkers, right? I like to think 2 or 3 moves ahead. That's why planning is very important to me. So I get what they say when it comes to curiosity. You got to be able to think, more of the macro level than the micro. So that makes sense for sure. Third, analytical prowess. Leadership requires the ability to break down complex problems, identify their root cause, come up with fresh solutions. Trusting your gut will not suffice. Instead, you need to develop your analytic skills by focus on cause and effect relationships and be attentive to patterns and trends. Absolutely. In my last book, I talk about habits, patterns, and trends a lot, right? And how just noticing them and changing them can change really the direction of your life, right? It can help you become a better leader if you noticing how this affects this, right? And you can literally see how this affects this. So, or I should say, this affects that. So, that's a great skill to have as a leader, to be able to diagnose and then treat issues that are being had. So, I think that's absolutely a great leadership quality. Adaptability, talk about it all the time. Have to be able to adapt to your surroundings. Now, that doesn't mean all the time that you want to, and you may have to adapt for a small amount of time in order to institute the changes that you really want to make. But you still have to be able to adapt to people, environments, culture, right? So it's absolutely key. I don't think you could be a leader without being adaptable, right? It's just no two ways around it. Creativity. I think either the last one talked about that, or but to be honest with you, I look at creativity and curiosity much the same. But um comfort with ambiguity. Managing ambiguity is about holding conflicting ideas in your head and dealing with competing priorities that feel equally important. Many people fall into the trap of linear thinking, believing the X causes Y, and as a result, they may overlook the interplay of different dynamics. To be an effective leader, you need to cultivate a system mindset, which helps you understand how things are connected and allow you to grapple with opposing ideas in the face of uncertainty. Absolutely. You got to be able to see the big picture. You have to be systematic, which usually we call systematic thinking, right? I'm such a systematic thinker. Sometimes it drives me crazy, right? I'm such a planner that sometimes it's hard for me to just unwind, right? Because I'm constantly thinking about what's happening 2 or 3 days from now, 2 or 3 months from now, right? I'm systematic. I'm well thought out. Like, it's a gift and a curse. Trust me. But yes, I definitely agree. You got to be comfortable with, understanding that things are not going to fall. It's not going to flow like a river. You know, sometimes they're going to be hurricanes, they're going to be storms, and you just got to get used to it. Resilience. Got to be resilient, right? You got to understand, as I just mentioned, that the ups and downs are going to be there. Like, you could have some well planned out, and then the execute just goes awry. It happens, right? In your personal relationship, in the business world, it just is what it is. And empathy, which I feel that is a very important but a very hard to measure thing, right? It's really hard to quantify someone's empathy, right? You may be able to qualify it, but to quantify it's very hard to do. But this is one thing men definitely struggle at: empathy and sympathy. Um, More so stronger at the other ones, which is really why we consider men as a leader, right? So when we look at resilience, when we look at being comfortable with ambiguity, creativity, adaptability, analytical prowess, a lot of these curiosity, a lot of these are masculine traits, right? I'm not saying that women can't be leaders, right? What I'm saying is the most effective we've had been for centuries have been the people who are literally laying their life on the line, who are literally building infrastructure, literally making sure the woman is protected during pregnancy, all that. They should be the leaders, right? But a lot of qualities that we've seen thus far, a lot of men have not harnessed those. They haven't been taught those, and they're not seeking guidance and help and therapy and whatever education would have you in order to make sure they have those traits to make their individual family successful. So therefore we can make the culture and society successful. We have to think about the big picture. Did I not already do a video on that? All right. So I thought that was a pretty good article as well, you know. Um so we're gonna wrap it up with our third piece of evidence, which you should already know. I got a video for you. You should know. You know, most of the time I do it in this order. Sometimes I might play the video first, but you should already know that a video is coming. All right. So let's get into our last piece of evidence to wrap it up why most men are not leaders. All right.
A lot of dudes be wanting to lead, but you hadn't even proven to be dependable. Like if the car break down, you're gonna be able to take care of it. Like, if something go wrong in the house, is you gonna be able to take care of it. Y'all outside and something jump off of you, is you gonna be able to take care of it. At the end of the day, like it's our job to take care of that woman. So for her to trust your leadership 100%, you gotta prove you're capable of doing those things. In fact, is a lot of men are not capable of doing all those things. You don't do a well enough job of taking care of yourself. Like how is she supposed to expect you to take care of her? Like you don't manage your own finances well. Like you still owe money in the street right now. But she's supposed to entrust her finances and her livelihood with you. Leadership has never just been something that's handed to you. Like you gotta prove that you're capable of doing it. You gotta make the people that's following you believe that you're gonna be able to take care of them regardless of the situation. A lot of dudes be wanting to lead, but
All right, there you have it. That was episode number 3 episode. That was my piece of evidence number 3. Hey, it's late, man. Okay, forgive me. All right. I thought that was a great breakdown of essentially why most men aren't leaders, but more so why a lot of women don't necessarily want to follow a man, because if they don't see certain traits and certain things in the man, then they're not going to follow them. But the sad part about it is that they still might sleep with them. Okay. Which I've been hearing a lot of time in these spaces of people saying, well, if he's not leadership material, then you shouldn't be having sex with him, which I totally agree, right? But what we know is happening is the fact that we can give all this great advice to what we should be doing, right? There's a whole book that tells us what we should be doing, but why do we keep doing the same things over and over that we shouldn't? It's because at the end of the day, we're gonna do what we want to do, right? We're gonna do what feel right at that moment. Okay. So why are most men leaders? It's real simple. Because it's a very tall ask for anybody, male or female. It's a lot of responsibility. And most men don't want that responsibility. Because just because you have kids doesn't mean you're going to step up to a plate and be the leader that that woman and that child needs you to be. It's no different than just because a woman in the household, that doesn't mean she's a leader of the household. That just means she's the adult in the household. Do you hear what I'm trying to tell you? All right. So we've been operating without effective leadership for a very long time. Unfortunately, we've seen the ramification of that as well. Look at all the stats that show us that single parent households are bad for business. Meaning it's bad for our society. Most people in jail, single parent household. Most people who don't have degrees, single parent household, the list goes on, right? All these are derivatives of having poor and ineffective leadership. So all these episodes that I've done so far, you should see the connecting. You should see how they connect, right? All right, man. I think that's a great place to end, man. Wow. We just hit 70, 30 more to episode 100, and we got to do it big, right? But man, as always, I like to thank y'all because without y'all, I'm not me, man. I don't do what I do without y'all, man. So I like to thank y'all for that. Um, Hey, as always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. Remember, the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. You already know. The links will be in the description if you want to purchase any of my books. Um, if you want to set up a consultant, um, hey, the links are in the description. But I think we just made that case, though. All right. Hey, deuces. One love.